Hi everyone, this is Lindsay with Lindsay's Craft Studio, and today we are going to be making this mandala Christmas tree design. So truth be told, this is the type of thing that you can paint on anything. So initially I had started with a wood board, so this is kind of what it looks like up close, and you can see that I used some metallic paints and it looks really cool on the wood board, but I thought it would be even nicer if I showed you how to do a variation of this on a tote bag, because then you get a usable piece of art. So if you were expecting to be painting this exact thing, fear not. If you have a board in front of me, you'll still be able to follow my instructions and be painting this tote bag. If you have something else in front of you, like a wine bottle or a regular canvas, or really anything that you want to paint this on, you absolutely can follow these instructions. The good thing about these dot mandalas, and part of why they're so popular, is because you can really put them on anything. So no matter what it is that you're trying to gift to someone this holiday season, or even if you're just interested in making some cool artwork to hang around your home, it's going to look nice no matter what you put it on, and you can fully customize the colors. So case in point, I had green, gold, and white for my first attempt at this. I'm actually going to be using some dark teal blue, some metallic silver, and some metallic gold for this iteration of this craft. So if you are painting on any surface other than a canvas, you will need multi-surface paint. Sometimes it's also called all-surface paint. Sometimes it says glass paint if you're painting on glass, but on the back there will be special instructions about how to cure your artwork. So something like this, a tote bag like this, is going to go into the dryer for about 20 minutes just to set the paint and make it super, super permanent. If you are painting on a wine glass, there's baking instructions on the back of this paint. Martha Stewart has a brand. I use this folk art stuff. I think Apple Barrel has some. Really, whatever's on sale at your local craft store is going to work just fine. One thing to keep in mind, I am going to probably be using some of this glitterific, look how sparkly, super, super sparkly paint. This stuff says right on it that it is very, very flammable. So this stuff I cannot put on until after I cure the rest of my creation. And I know that this stuff may wear off over time, but for the time being, while it lasts, it looks really cool. And as long as you have some of it around your house, you can add it back. So this is not the type of stuff that you would use on a wine glass. You can't, because you can't bake it. If you put it in your oven, it will explode, which I don't want to do to you guys. So just letting you know, the sparkly glitter stuff, while it looks really cool, it is for dry use only. It cannot be heated. So that's good for canvases and other things. So I have this tote bag kind of laying around. You can kind of see there's a little bit of a name still left over from what I was doing with this originally. But I had started a commission tote bag for someone, and I realized that I had taken the wrong picture of their cat and started to paint it. So I decided to completely paint over this tote bag, and now I'm going to decorate it with a tree mandala, and I'll be using this to help me carry things around this holiday season. So let me get into position here now that we no longer need our signboard here, because you guys know what we're doing. So I'm going to make sure that I lay this out really flat, get the handles out from underneath. You know, if you're using a canvas, anything that you're using, you want to be able to put it flat, because if you have it propped up at all and your paint runs, it's going to run down your artwork. The dot mandalas need to lay flat for quite a while before they dry fully. The other thing that you're going to need before you begin, some people buy the special sets of tools to do dot mandalas. Truthfully, I have never owned a special set of tools to do dot mandalas because I find that the back of a paintbrush works just as well. So if you look at the back of each of these, you can see that there are circles. So whether you're using the back of a paintbrush or you're using a ballpoint pen, a pencil eraser, you know, a dowel, a toothpick, anything that you have around your house, you can use to make dot mandalas. There's no special tools needed to do this. You can use what you have lying around. So I always make sure I have kind of 1, 2, 3 different sizes. And, you know, I might grab some different brushes. So I've got about 4 different sizes here. I've got 2 small and like a medium and a large. So that should be sufficient. So if you look at our example here again, you will see that this is actually a randomly filled in mandala. Typically mandalas are circular designs, they're very symmetrical. Our snowflake star topper at the top here is kind of like a little mini mandala because it has 8 sides, it goes all the way around. But the tree itself is actually randomly filled in. So what that means is you're going to be choosing dots based on the size of the space that you want to fill. So that makes this really super, super simple. So I wouldn't stress, it's very low stress. It's not as calculated as doing a regular mandala. You can kind of just go with the flow and put dots anywhere. But there are a few things that we have to plan out to make this look its best. So these kind of curly Q garlands we have to put in first. And then any colorful ornaments that you want, you're going to put in second. And then you're going to fill in your whole tree. And I'm going to show you how to do those things now. So how I usually like to start off is I will usually take a little dot of the color I would like to start with on the back of one of my brushes. And I'll go ahead and give myself a point for the top of my tree. So I'm going to plot that about here because I want it to be as centered on my bag or canvas or whatever as humanly possible, whatever you're using. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a bottom portion of my tree. So I'm going to go all the way down here, just tracing down, and I'm going to put a dot here. The next thing we are going to do is you are going to mark the widest points of your tree. So I'm going to guess about here and about here. If you want to, if it makes it easier on you, you can print a tree silhouette and you can draw it out. Just be aware that you will probably see your pencil lines in your finished artwork. But if done correctly, this isn't really that noticeable. So just keep that in mind. The next thing we are going to do here, aside from saying hello to Oliver, the studio cat's feet as he walks through my artwork here. Let me move these couple of things out of your bed so you can hang out with us, buddy. The next thing we are going to do, ooh, can't step on the tote bag, that away, is you are going to kind of start making your layers for your tree. So we're basically using our dots to draw our outside shape of our tree. So I'm going to come down here and kind of flare over. Hopefully this guy's tail is not taking out the camera. There we go. Working with a cat is never very predictable, and especially when I film, it's like he knows there's nobody in the camera to watch me, and like he doesn't have to be on his best behavior, so he just kind of comes right in. Let's see if we convince him to lay down somewhere else. He's a super cuddler and I love him, but sometimes he can't be involved, especially when there's wet paint on the top of the desk. So once you have a point for the top of your tree, you're going to kind of swing in a little bit and start your second row, kind of like so. And it's okay if these don't seem like they're matching up nicely. It's okay that all of your dots are the same size. We are going to fill this in and make this much cuter later on. And this does not have to be symmetrical at all. You can add as many dots, anywhere you would like to add them to make this make sense to your eye. And because this is a solidly filled in shape eventually, you can fuss with the shape of your branches after you are finished putting them in. So we're just going to be making dots for a while, just kind of getting the shape of our tree started. And your tree does not have to match my tree. Your tree should be its own entity. And our last section here is going to be pointing kind of straight down. And as we come across here, I painted myself a nice shadow for the bottom of my tree. I wanted to make it look like my branches are kind of draping over the snow. Even though this isn't a really realistic painted tree, I still wanted to give it a cute, unique touch. So that's why my branches kind of swing in there. You know, you can kind of draw out a few branches that are almost pointing downward. That's what I'm doing in this bottom section here. And I'm also going to put kind of connecting that point to the rest of my artwork here. The hardest thing about dot mandalas is not dripping any paint anywhere that you don't want it to be, and making sure that you have kind of a clear vision of what you want to do as you go along. All right, so we have the outline of our tree. If you do not have the outline of your tree finished yet, go ahead and pause this video because I move kind of quickly. I don't like these videos to be super long because I record ahead of time and then I upload them to YouTube. So being that I don't want them to be massive file sizes, I usually don't take too long to explain everything. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start putting some garland onto our tree. So you can start as far up as you would like to, and you're basically going to puzzle piece fit in your dots for your garland with whatever color you would like them to be. I actually think I'm going to use a bigger brush for that. And they're going to kind of curve around and over. I think my paint settled there. I'm just mixing it up. The hard thing about the metallic paints is sometimes you do need to dot over them a few times to get them to show up. Sometimes they're not very thick, and sometimes when they dry, it's like you didn't even do anything. They look terrible, but once you get a good layer going on them, they do look great. So moving down to my second layer here. So basically what you want to do is you want to come underneath a tree branch. So you're underneath here. You want to come underneath here, kind of slide in between two of your dots here, and come down a little bit until you're about a quarter of the way into your tree width at that point, and then you're going to start to swing back up. And eventually you're going to need to fall back down and over to the side, but I like to do that so it looks like it's kind of catching on that little branch that we put there. And if, as you're filling in, things start to look a little bit crazy, sometimes that does happen. Sometimes because we're not really planning everything out, it's kind of hard to tell where your dots are going to land or if you're putting them in the right place. So just bear with me. Do what you think is right for now. And like I said, you can always fill in and add more dots later, and it should start to make more sense to your eye. So now we're doing a really big garland swing. Down, 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 and over, and then back up. Now, if you wanted your garland to be decorated, if you don't like the way that it looks with just the one row of dots, what you would do in the next step is you would kind of go in between each of these dots and add a little bit more color. You know, if you want some colored lights strung onto your garland, if you want little groups of 3 holly berries, you know, anything that you would like to add, you would add to your garland next, with the anticipation that the step after this is going to be ornaments. So you need to have your garland done before you can add your ornaments on. And as you can see, this takes a fair bit of time. Usually when I make a mandala like this, especially if it's part of a gift or anything for the holidays, I will be sitting in my living room, obviously not recording, and I will just put on a holiday movie and sit there and kind of rock out with whatever soundtrack is happening. You know, musicals are really good painting backgrounds. I must have like a little drop of water or something in here, and it keeps getting stuck on my brush. There we go. Water will keep the paint from sticking to the back of your paintbrush, by the way. If you haven't figured it out yet, you probably did when I was struggling. So make sure that your brush is really dry. That's why I always have paper towels near me. Just keep going, keep making dots. Kind of an ugly dot because it's on the scene, but we'll make do. The hardest thing about this type of design is really just having the patience to get all of the dots on there. All right. So we have 4 rows of garland. They're not perfect, but you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of this song, Silver and Gold, from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the special with Burl Ives. They're not perfect in that scene either. They're actually made out of felts. Those little tiny trees are so super cute. That's actually one of my favorite holiday movies, and I watch it every year. And I'm always amazed that stop motion is not more popular because it's so cool that somebody did that all by hand. But that is part of the inspiration for this tree. It's why my decorations are silver and gold, because of that song. So a little bit of behind the scenes, what my family does for the holidays every year. So now we're going to add our ornaments. So you can stick with the same size dot for everything, or you can make a few that are bigger and smaller. Usually the first time you touch your brush down to a surface will be the biggest dot that it's possible for you to get. Every time you touch your brush down again, the dots will get smaller and smaller, and eventually you won't be making full circles and you'll need to reload your brush. So just keep that in mind. I like the randomized look of some big dots, some small dots, some medium dots, because I have all differently sized and shaped ornaments on my tree. You probably have the same. So it's nice to add a little bit of variety. And I'm moving really quickly because, like I said, I want to have enough time to record this and not have it start skipping if my camera starts to overheat. I want you to be able to get all the instructions from me, so don't mind me. Go at your own pace. Once you have filled in your tree a little bit, you can kind of get an idea for what's left over. You know, if you're doing multiple colors of ornaments, keep going. You can keep adding different colors, and then eventually you're going to get to a point where you need to start filling in your tree. And that is where I was talking about making sure that you're randomizing the size of your dots, because there will be spaces that are left over in your tree that have a lot of space and they're going to need a really big dot. And then there's other spaces like the space between this row of garland and the lip of my tote bag here that are going to need a really tiny dot in order for that to even fit. So you're going to have to kind of pick and choose where you would like to begin. I usually start at the top of my Christmas tree here, and all you're going to do is start filling everything in such a way that your dots are not really touching each other, but they're the same distance apart from what is next to it. So you can see I'm kind of randomizing. I'm picking some spots to put teeny tiny dots, and some of my spots I'm adding bigger dots. And in case you're wondering about the practical applications of making something like this for the holidays, if you were doing this on a piece of cardstock, this makes a really, really cool Christmas card design. In fact, I'm pretty sure I've seen designers do this before, and now you know how it was done. And as you fill in, you just saw me doing it while I was talking. If you feel like you need to add a little bit more pizzazz to your tree, this is where you would start fixing the shape. You can take little tiny dots and you can make your tree as tall as you want to. You can add more little branches, more little bumps out to kind of change the shape. So as we are painting and stamping here, I do just want to tell you guys, you can fast forward if you want to the end, if you're super speedy dot makers, but if not, I'm going to continue talking through the whole thing, so feel free to hang out. And also, thank you so much for crafting along with me. I don't often get to interact with people after I film a YouTube pre-recorded class. I film these because I have so many people that message me that say that they are working at the time that my live classes usually take place, and they are so sad that they missed them. So I like to offer an opportunity for people to kind of tune in after the end of their busy day if they want to, or take their time because they're doing this with little ones, or they're putting dinner on the stove and they're looking to relax at the same time. People who don't necessarily have the time to devote to sitting there and taking a class with me. I do still appreciate all of you, and I wish I heard more from all of you after class. So do me a favor, and if you do this tutorial, please send me a picture of your finished work. I would love to see what you paint this on, whether it's a wine glass or a tote bag, or if you're using a canvas board like my original example, or if you do this with younger kids. I really would just love to see the way it turns out, because usually after a live class, I have a ton of people send me photos and say, thanks so much, I did this with my family. Well, my pre-recorded people, I definitely still love you guys too, so feel free to share. You can do so if you make your post public. It doesn't necessarily make everything on your Facebook post public, just that one part, which is what I want to see. You would change the privacy settings, and then you can tag me at Lindsey's Craft Studio. You would use the little @ symbol. You can also use the hashtag Lindsey's Craft Studio so that other people can find you and find what you've done using my tutorial. You can comment on YouTube. You can comment in the Facebook event. Sometimes it will let you attach a photo with a review on my page. And part of why I'm talking so long about this, one, is to stall because I have lots and lots of dots to make, and two, because I genuinely do care. I really love all the stories. I have people that have joined me from Puerto Rico and Germany and crazy faraway places to do things. So I'm always curious what your story is and if you've been enjoying what I have to teach. So far so good. The metallic looks really awesome, especially if you tilt it. And you can see how cute and simple and fun this is going to be for a tote bag that I can carry around the whole holiday season. So share with me what you do with this tutorial. That's all I'm going to say. So we do have other fun things coming up this holiday season on lindsey'scraftstudio.com and on the Facebook. I will be debuting probably some more short tutorials. I'm actually on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, I usually put up 30 or 40 second, sometimes up to 3-minute clips of how I do various different things. And one of my recent videos is actually about cat-proofing your Christmas tree. So if any of that sounds like something that appeals to you, feel free to tune in. This tutorial is being recorded December 7th, so we're still a couple of weeks away from the holiday cutoff for ordering ornaments and things from me as well. So if you haven't yet ordered and you're thinking about doing so, don't delay. Those things are going to start to disappear. So I'm going to let the interior of my tree rest a little bit. It's actually pretty wet. I don't want to bump it with my hand by accident, she says as she continues to add dots, because I noticed my tree was off balance. There we go, much better. So I'm actually going to show you guys how to do this star on the top of your tree if you would like to do one, just in case my computer overheats and the video cuts off, because it's been known to happen in the past. So I'm going to show you how to do your tree star if you would like to, and I think I'm going to use a combination of silver and gold because I think that will show up the best. So what you're going to do is, this part of my tree has had a little bit of time to dry. So I'm going to start off by plotting the top and the bottom of where I want my star to be. Go ahead and make sure everything's dry before you smudge one of your dots like I did. And then if you want the classic like snowflake star shape, once you put a dot, you're actually going to drag your brush in toward the center. And what that will do is it creates a little tail on the dot that you just made, which is going to kind of look like, you know, your tree topper is glowing. And you can go ahead and fill that in as much as you would like to. And depending on how big you make your tree topper, you can continue to add dots around the outside edge. And like I said in the beginning, this basically turns into a little mini mandala, so it's really super cute. But that is how I do my tree star. And when this is all dry, I'm actually going to go in and re-drag that bottom dot because it's not exactly what I was hoping for when I first touched my brush down to the tote bag today. But as I mentioned, I'm worried my camera might cut out. So if it does, I apologize. Goodbye and happy holidays. But in the meantime, we're going to keep painting until we are finished here. We're just about. And you've got a choice, just like with a regular holiday tree. You know, you've got a choice if you want to put any sort of stem at the bottom. I did put like a little tree skirt looking accent onto the bottom of my original here. So it's just like a little half circle. So if you feel like adding that underneath, you would just do that by outlining it with some dots and then filling it in, just like we've done with everything else. But there's no pressure to add it. This is your design.